Alright, last part, and then you'll be ready for your big test. Let's see how many animals jump in and interrupt this one. Explain how Immaculée and the other women made it to the French camp. After being led out into the darkness by Pastor Munizzi, they kind of stumble upon the French camp, ask for help. The French are unwilling to do it because they don't believe that many Tutsi women can be alive out on their own. But luckily Immaculée has her identification card, and they are willing to take them in. Who's Jean-Paul? Jean-Paul is a family friend who knows pretty much everything that happened to to Immaculée's family, and he's able to recount essentially the deaths of everybody. And that leads us to 3, 4, and 5, which is the circumstances surrounding everyone's death. Immaculée's father, he is killed when he goes to ask for help, essentially. He kind of dies, I guess, you can call it unfortunately or fortunately, having faith in humanity towards the end. He goes to plead for help, and he's eventually killed. The circumstances of Immaculée's mother and Vianney's deaths. We'll start with Immaculée's mother. She's the first of Immaculée's family to die. She's hiding out, basically just in bushes, very not protected by anyone in particular. And she hears someone screaming for their life. She thinks it's Damascene, and she runs to help this person who's not Damascene. The killers say, "We'll let you live if you get us money." She says, "Sure, I know someone who will lend me money." But that person's a Hutu, and that person who basically Rose believed was her close friend, basically says, "I'm not giving you any money, and as a matter of fact, kill her in the street so you don't get any blood in my lawn." Pretty horrific stuff. And Vianney is killed. He's lured into the stadium where all the Tutsis believe they were going to get refuge, and they're gunned down with machine guns, and grenades are thrown in to make sure they kill everybody. Basically part of this slaughterhouse strategy, which was to lead people to what they thought were safe havens, only to kill them. And the circumstances of Damascene's death, we get a lot on Damascene about how he was how Bone helped him hide out, how Bone basically, when he realized they were going to come search his house for Damascene, digs him a hole to live in, and even when that doesn't work, Damascene starts to walk for the border, where he runs into a crowd of people who basically, amongst many horrible things, say, "If you tell us where Immaculée's hiding, we'll let you live." Damascene makes a sacrifice of his own life to make sure he doesn't give up that place of that his sister was hiding. And then also what we talked about in part 2, the circumstances of wanting to chop open his head to look at his brain to see why he's so smart. That also is confirmed as true as well. What members of Immaculée's extended family survive? Well, it's important to note that Amable survives because he's out of the country, but also his aunt her aunt survives, and she has the letter from Damascene. Who is Florence? Florence is a woman that Immaculée meets, and they go over her story, how she survived the genocide. She essentially was in one of these slaughterhouses where they were just gutting people down with machine guns. She survived, and the only way that she could escape was she hid amongst thousands and thousands of corpses as they threw them into mass graves, just dumping the bodies. She hides amongst piles of corpses for a long time, is able to survive acting like a dead body in that disgusting mess of dead bodies. Who is Pierre? Pierre is a French soldier who has a crush on Immaculée, and Immaculée likes Pierre enough too, but she's just not ready for anything like that after what she's experienced. Pierre is definitely someone who helps Immaculée and the women be safe at the time, but his feelings of love are unrequited by Immaculée, not because of anything he did, but because she's just not have any interest in love. Sume, get away from the camera. I wonder how bad that looked. Who is Alois? He's right in front of it. This is cats for you. Sume, move! Get out of here. Alright, this is my life. Who is Alois and what does she promise Immaculée? Alois is a very wealthy and well-off Tutsi woman who survived the genocide, but she's well-off, she's wheelchair-bound, but she also owes a lot of her wealth and her status to Rose, Immaculee's mother, so she's going to repay, and Immaculee's mother paid the full tuition for Alois's children to go to an expensive school to better themselves. So she feels she owes Immaculee's family a favor and promises to get Immaculée in with the UN. Immaculée also lives with Alois for a little while as well. Alois's wealthy home, though damaged during the genocide, is still a headquarters for the French soldiers to put up a lot of the refugees, the survivors. Describe the two orphans Immaculée cared for. These two orphans are very tragic characters. They don't understand what happened. They're unable to process how horrible everything is that went on. They really don't understand, even though they witnessed their parents dying, that they're not going to come back. This is really kind of in my opinion, one of the toughest parts to read, because these children, who are obviously completely innocent, are so unaware of anything that went on. They just are waiting for their parents to come get them, even though they watched them die. How does Immaculée assist the French soldiers? Translator. She kind of works as their aide, their right hand. What threat does Immaculée and the others face on their way from a French camp to an RPF camp? Don't bet you an animal stepped on the keyboard. The French drop them off right by a bunch of Interahamwe, who they say, oh, you'll be fine, they won't hurt you. Even though these are the killers, these are the committers of the genocide. I don't want to say the French dropped them off and just didn't care, but they weren't allowed to engage. They were following orders, which of course is one of the reasons this got out of control, because the French soldiers and of course the UN peacekeepers are given orders that they're not allowed to interfere. So this certainly doesn't help at all. And basically, and then Alois's wheelchair won't work anymore, so that is bad as well. But Immaculée, always the leader, takes upon herself to walk to the RPF camp and basically brings them back, and of course says Interahamwe very, very loudly, so everyone would hear that they're going there, and the Interahamwe are afraid to attack because they're afraid the RPF will see them. Who's Basil? That is a family friend who is a Hutu, and this shows kind of what some Hutus chose to do to combat the genocide. This is a Hutu that joins the RPF, and when the RPF are unwilling to trust Immaculée, that, once again, they didn't believe this many Tutsi women could be alive, they're ready to kill them because they think they must have participated in the genocide. Basil is able to say, hey, I recognize her, step up, and Basil saves her life too. Immaculée, even after surviving the genocide, even after avoiding the bulk of it in Pastor Muninzi's house, she really is put in danger, and a lot of people she owes her life to, and she's kind of giving this testament here. What discovery behind the church? She stays and makes Immaculée vomit. That's the discovery, and basically digging up Damascene's body so that they can give him a proper burial. They also dig up her mother and father and give them proper burials as well, though after seeing Damascene, Immaculée agrees that maybe it's not the best thing for her to witness. What does Alois reveal when she's reunited with her husband? That her baby, her youngest, actually died during the genocide. She kind of keeps that to herself. What is Immaculée doing when she runs into Dr. Abel? She's going back to her college campus to essentially get her degree so that people at the UN know she's well educated. And how does what does Immaculée find in her dorm room? Dr. Abel basically says, I'll show you around and I'll make sure you're safe as we go back to your college campus. to get in her dorm room, which has been completely ransacked, but they left behind her degree, which she sees as a gift from God because it's the one thing she needs to bring to the UN to show, hey, I'm an educated person, please hire me, and also $30. How does Rwanda's population shift? Important here. So, a million Tutsis die, 1 million Tutsis return from exile, and 2 million Hutus flee the country. So it's almost as if, population-wise, nothing has changed in Rwanda, but now Tutsis have returned and Hutus have fled, those that are basically guilty during the genocide. Who does Immaculée live with after she moves out of Aloise's house? Her college roommate, Sarah. She moves back in with her. And what is the dream of her family Immaculée has? That she has a warm feeling and sees them in the light. This is another vision she gets from God that says, and this is a point where she's battling with so much hatred in her heart. She feels so much hatred. How can she ever forgive these people that did so many bad things to her? And it's that she sees that her family is happy, and that even though her family has died these horrible deaths, they're now have received the greatest gift, which is eternal life with the Father in heaven, for dying such heroic deaths. Her reunion with Amabile, it's another tough part to read. It's short-lived, and basically Amabile says, I'm ready to come home, I'll come be with you, but I'll have to drop out of school and give up everything. And Immaculée doesn't allow it. She doesn't allow Amabile to drop out of school and says, we'll just write letters. We need to continue with our lives. We need to continue to better our lives. And then what is Immaculée's greatest lesson? And this comes at the end, and this is really, when we talk about the purpose of nonfiction, the entire purpose of the text. And that is the idea of forgiveness. Immaculée goes to visit and see in jail the man that killed Damascene in such a horrible way, chopped his head and his skull so that he could see his brain. And as Immaculée goes in there, not sure what she's going to do, she sees him and pities him because she sees his shame and that he is a weak person and that what he did was a weakness, a huge character flaw of his. And Immaculée realizes, and this is the important lesson to get out, and the purpose is that hatred in your heart is heavy. Hate weighs on you, and hate will bring you down, and hate will put you in that position. That man in the jail cell, Felician, sorry, probably not a good pronunciation, but that man in the jail cell, he has hatred, and he was weighed down by that hatred, and it ruined him. His life is essentially over. He's now a war criminal. He committed an act of he participated in genocide. And Immaculée is stronger than him in the end, because though she's lost so much, she forgives, and she doesn't let hate overcome her. She doesn't let anger overcome, and she's able to basically go on living and be a better person because of it. So she forgives him. And the purpose of this book is forgiveness. And the reason we read this story is not just to see the history of what went on, but to know that no matter what happens in your life, no matter where you go moving forward, bad things, and nothing ever this horrific will ever happen to you, but bad things are going to happen. You can choose to react two ways. You can choose to have hatred, you can choose to be angry, you can choose to let things weigh you down, or you can turn yourself over to God, and you can ask God to take your pain away. And He'll do it if you're willing to make the right steps. And it starts with forgiveness. Hatred is heavy. Forgiveness is light. So, I guess that's as best my 2 cents I can put in. But I hope you really enjoyed reading this book. It's very powerful. And hopefully you pulled something from it. And hopefully you can think about this as you move forward in the next adventure of your life. Thanks for viewing my videos, and good luck tomorrow.